I'm Savannah Levins.
And I'm Rebecca Lindstrom. Welcome to The Reveal, a program looking into issues happening in our community to give greater perspective, question authority, and uncover solutions.
For the next half hour, we're exploring stories that impact you, starting with a safety concern. We found more than 800 elevators are overdue for inspection in Atlanta.
Back in 2021, a teenager died after an elevator malfunctioned in our Old 4th Ward. Now, a whistleblower is coming forward with new evidence that the building owners knew it was unsafe. That
whistleblower gave me documents showing he was assigned to make repairs and says management refused because it was too expensive.
If you want to help, you have to go back.
Body camera video shows firefighters attempting to rescue 18-year-old Jamarcus McFarland from a malfunctioning elevator in this Highland Avenue building. Other riders escape as it drops, but McFarland became pinned between the top of the elevator and the floor. He died after an hour-long attempt to save him.
This is a tragic loss because we lost a good young man who had a bright future.
Attorney Sean Williams is representing the McFarland family in a lawsuit against the building's management, saying that elevator was overdue for inspection.
The owners of this building knew about this dangerous condition and had every opportunity to prevent it. So it just makes it even double worse. You lost your child, but it was preventable.
And now a whistleblower is coming forward saying the owners skipped fixes to save money.
There had been no maintenance done whatsoever.
The contractor asked that we protect his identity, but provided evidence showing he'd warned management the elevators were a life safety risk.
And what was the response to that?
Basically, no. Can you get more quotes so we can shop this around? I don't want to spend that type of money for this. You know, we can get it done cheaper. I emphatically told them that this is not something we have time to play with. This is something that has to be done and done immediately. It's not something you can shop around.
And while the repairs were being delayed, Jamarcus was killed.
It was very, very tragic, but it was very, very preventable. There's no way to put a price on a life. And I think that's what was done.
And what your whistleblower shows and proves is they made a conscious decision to save costs over the lives of people.
We made numerous attempts over several weeks to contact the building management and owners, but never heard back. Williams says the McFarland family hopes to see real change come from this tragedy.
We have millions of people every day in this state riding elevators. And if you don't make sure they're maintained in a proper way, this unfortunate situation can come to somebody else's family and life.
In Georgia, the fine for failing to keep an elevator inspection up to date is $500.
Which is nothing. You know, what's that life worth?
Elevator operators have to request those annual inspections. It's not automatic. We uncovered 825 elevators in Atlanta alone are past due.
There are codes in place to prevent this, but they just need to be enforced.
We take a risk every time we're on the elevator. Our job on behalf of this family is to get them justice, get Jamarcus justice, make sure his legacy live on, but to make sure that this doesn't happen to anybody else.
Now, a bill was introduced in Georgia last year to crack down on overdue inspections and raise that fine from $500 to $2,500, but it did not pass.
We reached out to the sponsors to ask if they plan to propose something similar again, but so far, no response.
Well, Forsyth County remains in the spotlight nearly 4 years after a woman died at a party.
The family of Tamla Horsford believes there is more to her death than the police reports reveal. Now, we analyzed the independent autopsy, 5 hours of never-before-seen police body camera video, and hundreds of photos and documents.
Now, we do want to warn you that what you're about to see could be hard to watch.
A death investigation is like a puzzle.
This can't be real.
2 law enforcement agencies investigated piece by piece the death of Tamla Horsford. Both concluded she got so drunk at a party she fell from a balcony after everyone else had gone to sleep.
Girls' night, we were all just drinking and we played cards against humanity.
But her family insists that narrative doesn't solve the puzzle.
You get all this information and you go, wait, nothing makes sense here.
Ralph Fernandez, the attorney for Tamla's husband, says he's gone through the evidence, every interview, document, and scene photo. So has Tamla's father and friends like Michelle Graves.
Why not just let this go? I cannot let this go because I know that what they said did not happen to her.
So we went through it all as well to take you inside the investigation to understand why the family remains convinced police are still missing pieces to this puzzle.
I know this was a homicide. The problem is I can't pin it on anybody because I don't have a badge and I don't have a gun.
We also got access to something that is not in the GBI's report. For the first time, the family is making their independent autopsy public. In it, Dr. Adele Shaker says the dislocated wrist mentioned in the GBI's report is actually a compound fracture. And the fracture in her spine isn't a fracture at all. And to him, what is most important is what the GBI's medical examiner did not find.
There is no evidence of any significant injuries to the skull bones.
In Dr. Shaker's report, he says the lack of broken bones in Tamla's skull make him skeptical that she died falling from the second story of a building. Now, at first, deputies on the scene seemed to agree.
They showed us the mulch and the rocks in the mulch and showed where, she tripped and fell over this little garden border.
From the homeowner to the detectives, there are statements pushing back against the idea Tamla fell from the porch.
If you went to brace yourself with your left hand, there ain't nothing there to brace yourself with. Yeah. And you spin, you know what I'm saying?
And even more unusual, how the homeowner and her boyfriend found Tamla's arms.
It's the weirdest thing. She was face down, but her arms were down she just face planted is the best way I can describe it.
So her arms were by her side?
Yeah, they were by her side, palms up.
It's a question we heard several times in the investigation because when you look at the scene photos, Tamla's left arm is actually off to the side, bent, her fingers curled under.
Did you ever touch her arm?
No.
Okay. Did you see anybody touch her?
No.
Other than you?
No.
To this day, police can't explain the discrepancies, at least not in a way that makes sense to the family. They say despite the yellow crime scene tape, Tamla's death was never treated like a crime.
Maybe she fell off the balcony, but she's stiff.
Okay, is she breathing?
I don't know if she's face down.
Forsyth County deputies called everyone that attended the sleepover back to the house for questioning. But it wasn't until the GBI got involved 2 years later that police searched for evidence on their phones. By that time, 2 people had new ones, and text messages and pictures from other phones were gone.
But an ambulance didn't come. We just saw her come out in a body bag.
No one tried to roll Tamla over to render CPR, not even police, who called off EMS.
There was no effort whatsoever done to try to save this woman's life.
The only one we know who touched Tamla's body was the homeowner's boyfriend. He declared her dead after touching her leg.
I have one deputy that's about to pull into your subdivision.
Then the destination is on your right.
Tamla's family believes race also played a role. The only black woman at the party in a county with few black people. The lead investigator on the case, Michael Christian, is accused of calling Tamla the porch lady and making derogatory racial remarks during the investigation.
I mean, that's horrific. In the racist, bigoted, sarcastic, funny way of this sick son of a.
On top of that, some of the responding officers knew the people at the party. The man on that 911 call was a former probation officer who, at the time, worked in the county's court system. And another woman worked with an officer's wife.
I'm sure you're good because her boss is my wife. So, well, then you're more than good.
In the recordings, we heard police tell the family that when the investigation is complete, they can access all of the records and the pieces will finally fit. But they don't.
Legally, this case is just beginning as far as I'm concerned.
I haven't been able to grieve her because I've been trying to fight for her justice for 3 years.
I have to know the truth.
You can listen to witness interviews and scroll through the documents yourself on our website, 11alive.com.
We'll be right back with more investigations on The Reveal.
Welcome back to The Reveal. Women who are violated and hoping for justice are now learning their cases are closed.
Our investigation found police departments in Georgia are using a little-known loophole to mark rape and sexual assault cases cleared without making an arrest.
Investigator Kristen Crowley exposes the problem that makes the crime stats look better and leaves rapists roaming free.
It's been almost 2 years.
He knows what he did.
Christian Park says her former boyfriend held her down and assaulted her for 5 minutes.
This specific time, he did stop and say he was sorry. Much after I'd said, no, please stop.
Her case was closed by Dallas, Georgia police for lack of evidence. Christian knew that, but she didn't know officers also marked it exceptionally cleared.
Have you ever heard of exceptional clearance?
No.
Here's what it is. When police can't arrest a suspect for reasons beyond their control, for example, the suspect has died, is already in custody for another crime in another jurisdiction, or a victim no longer wants to pursue charges. But first, police must identify who and where the suspect is and have enough evidence to make an arrest. That means Christian's case could not be exceptionally cleared. Police did it anyway.
That just makes me so mad.
Exceptional clearance expert and retired police sergeant Liz Donegan says misusing exceptional clearance is a big deal.
Under exceptional clearance, the public is under the false impression that we have solved a crime and a rapist has been held accountable.
That's because exceptional clearance and solved cases are considered the same thing in policing, when in reality, the suspect is still out there.
And they get to continue to live their lives. They don't have to go to therapy and relive those moments. They don't have to think about it.
And Christian's isn't the only mismarked case. All 4 of Dallas's exceptionally cleared rape and sex assault cases were given that label incorrectly. We told Dallas police about our findings, and the department admits it made a mistake. Those cases are now marked inactive.
I just want them to do right the next time, because this is not okay.
Dallas, Georgia Police Department did not respond to our request for an interview.
And our investigation doesn't end here. We found police departments across the state misusing exceptional clearance.
We'll be right back. Welcome back to The Reveal. Tents under the overpass, sleeping bags alongside busy roads. These are all obvious signs of homelessness.
11 Alive investigator Kristen Crowley found there is a growing homeless population that we don't always see. What does homelessness look like? We asked people in the community that very question.
Usually somebody in several layers of clothes.
I mean, a lot of times you kind of just picture like a disheveled person that's unclean and unkempt.
In part is a choice. Some people enjoy the lifestyle.
Hey, friend. How you doing?
Descriptions that just don't fit Jose Garcia.
I'm here now, I'm not used to it, but I'm gonna climb out eventually.
Jose is experiencing homelessness, often living with friends or in a car, but he's far from disheveled and unmotivated.
Me, I'm definitely not lazy. I will do what I have to do.
So why does the word homeless bring a vision of uncleanliness? There's actually a simple explanation. That's the homeless you see.
Do you think a majority of people who are homeless live on the streets?
Definitely.
In reality, the people you see are only 1/3 of the homeless population, and most looking for a roof over their head are families.
It's the mom, her parents, and the children. Ike Reichard is president and CEO of Must Ministries, an organization to help the homeless. More families, he says, are turning to Must for help. In August of 2020, it helped 27 people, 17 of whom were children. In August of this year, it served 139. 77 of them were children.
All right, thank you.
Are you seeing new people every day?
Every day. Every single day.
Someone used to seeing the homeless most of us don't see is Matthew Jones.
We try to add the dignity back to free food.
977 through 980.
He created the Grocery Spot in Atlanta's Grove Park neighborhood, where the median household income is just over $23,000.
You got to be pretty vulnerable, I feel like, to even stand out in the heat and wait sometimes, for an hour and a half just to get some free food. But it's a lifeline.
And while Jones and his volunteers don't ask people if they're homeless, they know many of those here struggle with it.
So I understand these people when they come up here, I was homeless for almost a year or so. Is there anything that you need? Do you need some bags or anything?
Portia Braxton, the Grocery Spot's manager, understands the struggle. She lived in hotels after going through a bitter divorce.
It can happen to anybody. It can. There's people with businesses that are homeless now because of COVID.
The biggest need right now is people holding on by a thread, like people who are $200 away from losing their apartment because they being evicted.
Christy Betts partners with the Grocery Spot and runs a Facebook group called Giving Grace. It started 10 years ago, mainly providing things like food and clothing. Now, it's filled with people about to become homeless or who already are.
So we have a lot of folks in hotels right now, and they are having trouble getting approved for apartments because the rent in Atlanta has gotten so out of control.
When the grandmother Jose lived with died, her house was sold. He couldn't afford a place of his own. As he tries to figure out where he can live, figuring out his next meal is one less concern.
It's a blessing to know that, you can come to a spot and you can be, 3 days a week and you can actually have food instead of having to go and ask somebody for something to eat.
And he hopes someday the reason you won't see him as a homeless person is because he's not one.
The Grocery Spot and Giving Grace rely heavily on donations. If you'd like to support them, you can go to 11alive.com for more information.
We'll be right back with more on The Reveal.
Welcome back to The Reveal. More than 19 million people in the U.S. live with depression. And a new report finds the majority of psychologists, 86%, are white, while only 4% are black.
And one local woman is trying to reduce the stigma many in the black community face to accessing mental health care, while also encouraging more therapists of color to join the field. Dawn White shares her story.
Becoming a therapist is personal for Mariba Lewis.
Clearly, I've been black all my life. And so I can honestly say that growing up, I'm from Florida, I can't think of anyone who had a therapist.
Her interest in mental health started traveling the world in the military and realizing the one thing everyone wants is to be happy.
Since COVID, of course, now it's sometimes even sexy now some people to say I have a therapist, but there still is a huge stigma related to that.
Statistics show 18% of white Americans seek help for mental health, while less than 10% of black Americans do.
Other cultures have seen their parents, their grandparents go to therapy, and it's not taboo. In the black community, if you had a therapist 20 years ago, they would have called you crazy.
CDC statistics show suicide is the third leading cause of death for black men ages 15 to 24. Lewis believes representation of therapists and psychiatrists in the black community is crucial.
We want to reach out to someone who looks like us. And so therefore, if someone in the black community starts to seek therapy and they can't find anyone that looks like them, then they may stop the process and they may never start it back up again.
Lewis encourages others in the black community to consider a career in the mental health field.
Mentorship, and by that, reach out. If you're thinking about being a therapist, reach out. We as therapists also, we have to do something as well to let other brown and black people know that, hey, this is actually a real thing.
Thank you so much for watching the latest edition of our investigative show, The Reveal.
You can watch all of our latest investigations on our website, 11alive.com/investigates.